Hello and welcome to the dungeon. I'm your Hobgoblin host Hunter, and this is Hobby Goblin Studios. This week, I'd like to talk about what it means to be a commission painter. Obviously, on the surface level, it means people pay you to paint little tiny plastic men. But how does one actually go about this? How do you find time to paint your own things? What does it make you feel about the hobby in general? I want to talk about this and more while I also paint a Space Marine because YouTube algorithm. A lot of other YouTube personalities have talked about doing commission painting in the past, such as Miniac and Ninjon, and I'm sure plenty of others. And a common complaint that comes up is having to paint things that you're not necessarily interested in. This is a genuine concern, and I feel like something you should definitely think about if you want to become a miniature painter by commission. For me though, I look at it like this. I get to paint things that I wouldn't normally buy for myself. I have yet to have an experience of painting something for someone that I did not enjoy. For example, I could paint somebody's Skaven army for them. It's not an army that I'm interested in playing, however, a lot of the models do interest me. This commission is a little bit different because I'm definitely not a fan of Space Marines. I've always found them to be a little bit vanilla and boring. However, I think this one might have changed my mind. A lot of people have very strong opinions about airbrushes. However, if you're trying to get paid a decent wage painting miniatures, it's very important. It's very important to know the tricks of the trade and be able to paint pretty quickly. And an airbrush is a very important tool for that. It allows you to prime your miniatures much quicker and without as much waste. And it's definitely considerably cheaper than purchasing GW rattle can primer. Having an airbrush also allows you to do a zenithal prime. You could do this with the rattle can, however you could be more precise with your airbrush. This is where you prime the miniature a dark color, in my case black, all over, and then come back with a lighter color, such as white, from just the top to emulate the sun in the middle of the day. It will create a lot of highlights for you to use later. And if you thin your paints properly, it will show through and it means less work for you to do later. Anytime that you're doing a commission, you're definitely going to run into some sort of problems. For example, here, this paint scheme is one that I've used before to paint a Dark Angel's Rhino. However, on these guys, they turn out looking a bit like the Sprite mascot. Here I use a trick that I absolutely love to fix this without having to redo all of my work. Glazing is a very important technique to know, as you can very quickly develop highlights and shadows without a ton of effort. To do this, I thin down quite a bit of Caliban green into some airbrush thinner and paint it into the shadows. Once all of that dries, I take some Vallejo green ink and wash the whole thing down. The ink is very transparent and will tone the greens down while still maintaining the highlights that I've already done. If you're thinking about becoming a commission painter, it's very important to realize that you're going to have to paint a lot of armies. This is mostly what people are going to want done, and if you're a beginner, you don't get much choice in what you take. You kind of have to take what comes to you. Personally, I'm not a fan of painting armies. They take a lot of time, and batch painting them makes it seem like you're never really getting anywhere. However, when you do get them done, it is an amazing feeling and they look beautiful. When your client comes back to you and tells you how excited they are and how amazing your models look, it really, really puts a smile on your face. And you've probably just created a return client, because they're going to want to add characters, they're going to want to add more units, and you're going to get smaller commissions from them that you're going to enjoy. Speed is not the only trick to getting paid to paint your little plastic soldiers. You also do need to make them look good. There are a few techniques that I would recommend you get comfortable with at least before you put yourself out there too much. Those would be glazing, like I talked about earlier, and edge highlighting. In the mini painting community, these are considered more advanced techniques. However, I think people overhype how difficult they can actually be. If you take the time to learn them, you're going to get pretty amazing results. Now, I'm definitely not suggesting that if you're trying to be a commission painter, you edge highlight every single little detail, but rather just the ones that stand out and need it the most. For example, on Space Marines, this is often the shoulder pads, the knee pads, and depending on how prominent the legs are and the posing, there's a couple of extra pieces around there, and on the backpacks as well. Now, this really wouldn't be a Hobby Goblin Studios video if we didn't talk a little bit about scenics. So let's jump into the basing for these guys. First of all, I ran around my hobby area looking for extra bits and just different things that I thought would be pretty interesting. I grabbed a few plaster rocks, some tile grout, and then I get to work. I throw down some modeling compound as per usual. As that starts to dry, I start shoving in my resin bits and plaster cast rocks. On top of that, we just glue down some tile grout, maybe a little bit of flocking, and begin the painting process. I really wanted to make these bases look like they were in the ruins of an imperial city. So I threw in some pipes and broken Gothic concrete things, and then painted them up, make them look pretty rusty, torn up, weather them a little bit, and there you go. Now, one more issue that I want to talk about with commission painting, and is a pretty big deal, is finding time to paint for yourself. Now, currently, I have quite a big backlog, and it's very difficult to find time to paint my own things, and that can be a little bit disheartening. However, I've decided that I'm going to block out an amount of time every week to sit down and only paint my things. I've been doing this for a little while, and it's kind of difficult to force myself to do it. Oftentimes I will try to paint a commission, or instead of painting my stuff, set up a time to play a game of Warhammer. I'm hoping to get a better PC and start a stream so that I have something kind of tying me down to really force me to get my own stuff painted. At the moment, that's probably not happening anytime soon, but it is a plan. And if you're going to be a commission painter, I suggest you find some way to make yourself responsible for having your own stuff painted and blocking out time to do so.
Real quick, I just want to apologize for the change in audio quality. I'm editing this video out of my house at the moment, and I really want to get it out because it is coming out kind of late this week. This commission was part of that reason, but hopefully in next week's video, or possibly the week after that, you guys will know more about why I'm so late. Anyway, I had a ton of fun painting these guys up, and they even changed my mind about Space Marines. They have a lot of interesting volumes. You can do some really interesting things with them. And honestly, just the capes and swords are pretty awesome. I think I may pick some up for myself, and who knows? Maybe I'll start a kill team. They are about to be super powerful if some of these leaks are true anyway. Enjoy the rest of this spinning shot, and we'll wrap up here in a moment.
I hope you guys have found something useful in this video, and if you have, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. If you'd like to support me any further, head on over to hobbygoblinstudios.com and email me about an inquiry for your commissions. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, keep on crafting.